Hello there, Jamie Bishop with Soul Heart Entertainment. I am here to chat about toes, as usual. Love toes. Who here loves toes? Okay, so toe reading is this idea that our thoughts, feelings, and emotions show up like our toes. And what I think makes this tool so incredibly useful is that when I think of I said that a million times. When I think of things that I'm trying to get at in my subconscious, the toes show what we're thinking, feeling, and emoting into the world clearly. And recently, I guess in the last, let's say, I don't know, 2 years, in the last 2 years, that would be recently to me in my brain, with authenticity being so important, and being able, the word vulnerable is awkward to me, but being able to be real, I guess, with people that you're interacting with, those are things that are super important to me and my morals and what I feel best serves the world in general. So to be that way and to show up in the world the way that I want other people to show up also is, you want to be truthful with yourself, you want to be truthful with everybody else. Well, oftentimes, I don't know about you guys, but oftentimes our thoughts are one way and our subconscious thoughts kind of go in a whole different direction. So it's not necessarily dishonest, it's just, it feels uncomfortable. Hey Rihanna, how are you? So glad you're here. So we're talking about toe reading, and I'll just repeat because I don't think you were on when I said it before. Toe reading is this idea that our thoughts, feelings, and emotions show up the way that our toes do. And when we feel things in our minds and we think them over and over and they become kind of our belief system, it gets into that subconscious idea and we hold on to subconscious thoughts, feelings, and emotions in our body. And one of the ways that you can see that, there's so many ways you can see that. There's iridology, there's palm reading, there's so many different ways to show up. Hey Nicole, so glad you're here. So those subconscious beliefs get held on to in our body, and we can, I just like toe reading because it's a really interesting way. It's certainly unique. It's a little less scary, I guess, for a lot of Christians to grab onto, as far as tarot cards and palm reading and psychic stuff is a little scary sometimes for some people. So for me with toe reading, it's so unusual. It's the woman who taught me toe reading, Casey Miller at Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, she said that it's no mistake that we refer to our feet as our soles, and even though it's spelled different, it still means the same, right? It's anyway, so feet are so powerful, and they're such important tools when it comes to being able to check in with ourselves and make sure that we're kind of on track with where we want to be. So hey Simon, so glad you're here. All right, so one of the things that we're gonna do, I'm actually waiting for, I had printed photographs from some of the suggestions of what to talk about today, but when we went to go pick them up, they were not available. So of course, challenges, you know, if we didn't have challenges in life, how boring would life be, right? So, so while I'm waiting, my husband is so sweet. He went to go pick them up for me. So while I am waiting, let's talk a little bit about some toes that I have pictures of. If you have any questions about toes or toe reading in general, please let me know in the text messages. Again, I believe I'm seeing all the text messages come through, but if I don't see it, maybe ask it again, okay? So let's start with this. Oh, he's coming in. My husband got here. Yay! All right, cool. So let's start with. Yeah. Let's start with these toes. All right. Okay, so I just read that Rihanna. I want to call you Lola. It vibes well with me so much more. Anyway, I'll call you by the name that you have on here. Rhiannon has, she said that her husband has absolutely the ugliest toes she's ever seen. All right, so Rhiannon, the question for you is, where is it that you feel like he is showing up? Thank you. I'll call you Lola because that just, I don't know why, it feels so much more authentic with me. Anyway, getting back to the question is, where are you not seeing his beauty? Where is his ugliness showing itself more often in his soul's makeup, particularly when the two of you interact with each other? And where can you maybe look a little bit more for the beauty? Where is the beauty in that? Where is the beauty in his soul? Where are the things that he does that make you happy, that make you feel fulfilled, that make you feel good, right? So it's interesting how when we say and do things out in the real world, how it's really just a reflection of us. So, you know, I'll use an example. There's somebody that's regularly in my life that I have challenges with. I just have challenges with as a woman, and she and we get along fine, but I get along with just about everybody really, really well. So I'm very, very blessed in that. But this one woman, there's something that rubs me a little bit awkwardly about her. And so when I'm around her, that sense in my head, that looking at my toes and looking in where looking at her toe, looking at my own toes. Blah. Oh my gosh. Looking at my own toes in order to see where I'm stuck with seeing her show up as, you know, once upon a time I heard that if you have trouble interacting with somebody, try to see the little kid in them. Try to see the little kid that's showing up, and it will help with the relationship, because we all are kind of those hurt little kids inside on some level in some way. And so it's difficult it's just difficult to see that when you're interacting with somebody that rubs you the wrong way or that you have trouble interacting with. But when I ask myself that, where is it that, you know, if I'm feeling a certain way, you know, specific, you know, I feel judged by her, I guess, is the thing that really strikes me as the hardest thing to deal with when I'm around her. And so where am I judging her is the question that I ask myself. And that shows up in my feet, in both my relationship and my action toes. So let's talk a little bit about action toes. Well, let's just give a little bit of a hi honey, glad you're on here.
I want you to see my feet. Let's
talk a little bit about where things show up in the toes. Okay, so on this, will you get me a Sharpie, please? Thank you. You know, because the image that you're seeing now is reversed, it's probably showing up backwards for you. So I'm just going to write it on here to help make it make sense. So this is right. And even though these letters will show up backwards, you'll be able to see the difference a little bit better, a little bit more clearly. Okay. So if I do that, does that help? Where we have left and the right foot. Okay. So on the right foot, it's all about our external self and how we show up in the world around us. On our left foot, it's all about our internal self and how we show up for ourselves. With the big toe, we're talking about the big picture or our destiny in life. With the second toe, we're talking about communication, creativity, you know, sometimes some things that were communication, creativity, and analytical. So anybody who has a lot of analytical behaviors will have an extra long, I think we've all seen somebody with kind of an extra long second toe. So those are people that are very analytical. They're fantastic, let's say accountants. They're really good people they usually have really big toes to go with that because they have a tendency to see the big picture a little bit more clearly. Anyway, that's kind of interesting. The third toe on both feet is our action. And let me just back up to the external self and internal self. We're talking destiny as far as our soul is concerned, communication as far as our soul is concerned, action as far as our soul is concerned. So kind of the way that we take it. It's interesting sometimes to me how when we're, you know, I don't know if you guys notice this, but when you're with your significant other and they're around their family, their behavior and actions have a tendency to be a little bit different. I know that I'm different in front of my family, even if it's just the slightest degree, than when I'm just with, you know, my family that I live with, right? When I'm with my extended family, there's a little bit of a difference in how we show up in the world. And that's kind of where it shows up, is that this is what we expect that other people expect of us. Does that make sense? And then this is how we show up for ourselves. Just so if we're always showing up for ourselves, regardless of who we're around, the left foot will be dominant, and it will also be an exact reflection of where the right foot is. So that might help with that. The other thing, finally, we're getting to the ring finger toes, if you will. These are the relationship toes. And then the baby toes are the only toes that are different from foot to foot. So on the left side, you're talking about your prosperity and abundance. I'm sorry, it's the other way around. On your right side, it is on the right side, it's prosperity and abundance. On the left side, it's about faith and trust and, you know, kind of the bridge of faith and trust to the prosperity and abundance. So, you know, kind of when we're not centered on our own faith and trust, gaining that prosperity and abundance can be a real challenge. Okay, so Rhiannon says, my husband says I'm authentic, being the same no matter who I'm around. That's fantastic. That's so your left foot is probably a perfect mirror of your right foot. And if it's not, then where is it just slightly different? You know, these feet are completely different to me on the left side versus the right side. The right side, you know, this toe kind of takes a dive to the pavement. You can see that on how, you know, how the toenails pointed down toward the pavement. Now the big toe kind of points up. So in the grand scheme of life, this person is positive thinking and does have faith and trust going on for them. But in how they communicate that, it might be fear-based communication or a little bit of negativity showing up, right? Let's see. She says, my small left toenail is slightly turned, but that is the only difference. Okay, so, and that is on your left foot. So much like this one, I suspect that where it's, it's just kind of slightly turned toward the out, where some of the padding is maybe underneath the relationship toe, and the nail itself is pointed out toward the future, if you will. When the toenail points toward the outside of the center line being the center line, this is the center line, where right between the 2 feet. That is, the center line is past experiences that we have a tendency to hold on to and refer back to when we're making decisions in today's world, if you will. The left toe is, or where it leans out and it's looking toward the future, it's a lot more around the future thoughts, if you will. So on this one, because the baby toe is kind of, pointed out toward the future, and because it's on the left foot, you're talking about faith and trust. And you're talking, generally speaking, and this is very general, it's not always true for every single individual, so just take it with a grain of salt. But when I do a toe reading one-on-one, or with somebody's image, what kind of I intuit is going on with them, because they've given me permission to tap into their being, if you will. I don't know how else to put it. So I can intuit for them specifics, where in a general reading, I don't always have that intuitive ability. But on this one, because this is somebody who gave me their toes, and I know who this is, I know that there's more faith and trust. Let me rephrase that. She feels like she gives more than she gets. Okay? So that's where, when it's turned out and kind of pointed to the future, I have a tendency to, that has a tendency to be the way that it shows up. I'm getting, I'll be right back. And there you go, falling on me while I get my drink. Okay. Well, technical difficulties, gotta love them. All right, so I'm gonna try to tighten that down. I think it will stay. Okay. All right. So that's that. So does that answer your question, Lola? Okay. Another thing I want to mention, just because this picture shows up pretty clearly, and it's something I don't think I've ever talked about in one of these, and that is that this person has this like kind of it's almost like she has space for another toe right there. See how that extra padding over there has a tendency to show up as it's quite a bit of extra padding. I have my little flavored seltzer, love it. But so that extra padding right there shows me that this person has a lot of intuitive ability. They have a sixth sense, if you will, as if it's a sixth toe, right? It's a sixth sense, and because it's on the left side more than it's on the right side, she's gonna feel that internally, but she doesn't project that out into the world, maybe out of concern that somebody's gonna have an opinion about that she didn't wanna upset the apple cart, right? So I would wonder for this person, where is she allowing herself to be authentic within, but not without? Where is that imbalance showing up in her life? And is she satisfied with it, or does it need to be something that she wants to adjust, and then we would work on adjusting it. Let me just see really quick what we have here. So it means I feel I give more than I receive because it turns out. Oftentimes, yes. Oftentimes, yes. Again, you know, without having your specific picture or your specific toes in front of me, I don't want to commit completely to that. But in general, that is what it tends to mean. Now, another thing about these toes, and then I'll move on to the ones that my husband brought me, is that if you look, okay, so if I put like if I draw an arch from there to there, where her toes meet where the toes meet the foot, okay, you can see that, at least I can see very clearly, that she has more padding or more skin, if you will, between the communication and the action and the relationship. So it's clear to me that this person has a very close connection to, even though her toes are nicely separated as far as, so she's very organized. She feels uncomfortable when she's not organized. But she has a very close connection between communication, action, and relationship. So if she is thinking about doing something in her life, it would mean that she would process it in her mind, but she wouldn't ever take action until she communicates it with her significant other. So so that extra padding tells me that there's a wonderful intuitiveness to the way that she does things, the way that she shows up, and the way that she wants to take things forward, but that no action will actually happen in this person's life until she communicates it with her significant other. So I think that's kind of interesting. And then Rhiannon, you said, what if it's on both sides? I think, are you talking about that extra padding that I was talking about? Your toes are very close together. I have close together toes too. Generally speaking, close together toes mean that everything's very closely connected. So your relationship is connected to your action, which is connected to your communication, which is connected to your faith and trust, which is connected to your big picture. There you go. Those are my toes from a few days ago. Good gravy. So yeah, so those on the beach. But yeah, I mean, they're fairly close together. There's a tiny bit of space, you know, more on the right side than on the left side. On the left side, yeah. Anyway, all right, cool. Let me find the picture that somebody sent to me. Okay, so since I have pictures of these, let me show you these really quick. So this is a fantastic picture. It's a skeleton of the feet, as if it were in a toe reading. So I had, as you can see in this picture that I showed you earlier, they're, fairly close to each other. So if she had both feet right next to each other and connected at that big toe bone, where the big toe, that's what it would look like in the hologram of the body. So where the toes meet the feet is where your shoulders show up. Okay, I call it kind of the shoulder of responsibility. This section of the feet is the shoulder of responsibility. Then when and then all of the toes themselves are actually in your head, right? Which is why it's called toe reading and why it shows up that way. Now, the good news is that you can adjust sinuses, you can adjust hearing stuff, or anything to do with jaw, or and of course our thoughts and emotions. But all of that shows up in our feet. It's pretty cool. It's pretty darn cool. So yes, the extra padding on both sides. Okay, so what that means is just that you're going to be super intuitive both internally and externally. You'll show up in the world the way that you show up for yourself, which is such a blessing. You know, count your lucky stars on that one, because that's a big deal when it comes to being authentic. And so when you get in that place of being authentic with yourself, things happen in the world a lot more magically and a lot more smoothly. So that's super cool. Okay, and so Nicole said an empath, so that makes sense. Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that, and I know that about you. Okay, so let me see what Nicole says. So the question, one session you stated something about well-manicured toes. Could toes that are painted possibly hide? Absolutely. I mean, you know, you can see actually, here, let me go back to my toes. I had nail polish on my toes for over a year, and I went from one color to the next to the next to the next, and I didn't take that nail polish off for a long time. Fairly recently, like I think it was last month or maybe the month before, I took my toenail polish off, and I have these calcium deposits of extra calcium and some discoloration, and it's specifically on this big picture toe of mine, this destiny toe of mine. So it's really interesting to me that you mentioned the nail polish, because absolutely, it definitely hides. So, okay, sorry, I'm like having to reach into my brain to remember everything. With toenail polish, the color of toenail polish means something to toe reading. Naked toes versus polished toes mean something. Toes like mine that have these calcium deposits, you know, so in my calcium deposits, and my husband likes green. I'll keep that in mind, honey. In mine, the calcium deposits, I have, you know, the question that I asked myself when I saw that is like, oh my gosh, what is cloudy in the big picture in my destiny? Which is totally accurate, because there was, when I decided to take the polish off and keep the polish off until my toes recovered from having been under polish for so long, I really was very much questioning, what the heck am I supposed to do? I know what my purpose is, but now how do I get it out there? How do I deliver it? What is my focus? You know, so all of that was going on. So I was very cloudy and a little bit unsure of myself. So, you know, there it is showing up. That's a picture from two months ago. Anyway, yeah, and blue. You're goofy. You're goofy, honey. Okay. So, tattoos, really quick. I'm going to touch on the tattoo thing, and then I will move on. I think I had an example of a tattoo, which really helps to show the example, because I'm not finding it right now. All right. Anyway, so tattoos, of course, mean something, and they mean something very specific. And when you prefer unpainted because you're lazy and poor, goofball. But my left big toe has long vertical line in it. Okay, so we'll talk about the lines in a minute. Actually, we'll talk about them based on the image that I was sent. I believe this image was sent by you, love, Miss Nicole. So the tattoos, you're so silly. My husband's silly, can you tell? So tattoos are very specific, okay? So think back, if you have tattoos on your feet, or if you wear rings, or if you're adorning your feet in any way, shape, or form. Another thing that you can think about is what shows up as angel kisses. Okay, so like I have this angel kiss right here, which is just a little, it's just a little freckle of some kind. And where that shows up on the toes, here's another really cool image of where the chakras show up on the feet and how that can mean something pretty specific. So let me show you this. Somebody that I know went hiking for the first time in a really long time and came home with a heart-shaped owie. Okay, so that is, it's all going to mean the same thing as tattoos. So when did this person get it? When, you know, where does it show up on the feet? And so on this one, you can see that it shows up right here on the toe. So where is the heart chakra and the throat chakra being challenged? Where is it hurting? Where is it needing to slough off the old to you know, embrace the new? Does that make sense? So it's super interesting. So like, for example, Lola, you said tattoo right foot between big toe and index, ring toe and index on left. Okay, so just think back to when did you get those tattoos and what was going on in your life. On the right foot, it's your external life. On your left foot, it's your internal life. So where on your external life, between the big toe and the index, which is the big picture and communication, where did something kind of drastically change that brought about the tattoo wanting or getting of the tattoo? You know, we can think about it forever and ever and ever, amen, but we don't actually take action until that timing is right. So the timing of it is a big deal. So, and because of where it shows up between the big toe and the communication toe, that's what was going on in your life around your big picture and the communication of that big picture, right? For the left foot, between the ring finger and the or at the ring toe on the index, let's see. So the ring toe on the left side, I think is what I'm reading. So what was going on in your relationship with yourself, where that goes. A friend got a matching tattoo the same day. Yeah, so you know, maybe you guys just decided, forget it, you're gonna stop avoiding what you know is your destiny and start communicating it with everybody. And that was just kind of your way of saying, I'm doing it. Forget it. Forget all of you people. I'm doing it, and I'm putting it out there, whether they like it or not, you know, kind of thing. And then the ring toe on the left foot. So that's all about the relationship within yourself. So what's your highest self going through, and where did the highest self in you need extra support, extra attention? Maybe you kind of started thinking really about what was important to you and where it's showing up. That's exactly what that, okay, good, yeah. It's pretty crazy how accurate this stuff is. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I think these are the same person. Maybe not. Huh. Okay, I don't think they are. Okay, so got the toe ring in 2000. Ah, there you go, see? Nice. Hi Mike! Yay! Okay, so this is the picture that I was sent to discuss today. So let's talk about it for, how much more time do we have? I don't mind going over, but I always hate people feeling like they're obligated to stay. Okay, well, we're totally over time, but that's okay. I'm gonna keep doing this. So with these feet, we're talking about, okay, there's so much going on, so I'm not even gonna get into all of the things that are going on with this foot, but there are things that jump out at me as important to mention. these feet, not just a foot. The first of which is that as masculine feet, they are hairy, right? Okay, so I know we all have hair on our feet. Most women have a tendency to remove that hair. Just that is a societal norm for us, and I'm grateful for that societal norm, because it what hair means is that this is somebody who has extra sensitivity. Okay, if you think about the hairs on your arms and the hairs on your legs, and when a breeze comes by, or when something kind of washes through us, we feel that on a much more like, ooh, visceral level when we have hair. When we don't have hair, we're left a little bit more raw and vulnerable. So women have a tendency to be a little bit more raw and vulnerable. Hair is kind of a protection, but it also induces sensitivity. Okay, so hairy men are more sensitive than not hairy men, which is a good thing. The thing about these toes, these feet are not, I think I saw somebody say that one foot looks bigger than the other. I think that that's just the way that the carpet is, and I think that that foot happens to be closer to the camera. That would be my suspicion anyway. But so the hair is just extra sensitivity. They're gonna have a heightened degree of sensitivity, especially on the toes that the hair shows up on. Okay, so the big toe, the communication toe, the action toe, and then it starts to wane when it gets to the relationship and the faith and trust and prosperity and abundance toe. So you'll notice that these toes don't have hair, whereas these three do. So it's going to be, when we get caught in our emotions, it's harder to take action. It's harder to communicate. It's harder to see the big picture. So just keep that in mind when dealing with this person, is that they're going to be really, really sensitive to it, but they're going to have a hard time expressing that sensitivity because they don't want to be vulnerable, right? It's too scary to leave your heart out there and try to get across what needs to get across. Hey, Dave, thanks for joining. So there are two more things about these feet that I'll talk about. One is that there is a sore or it looks to me like either a callus or a, why is that escaping me? It escapes me every time too. I must have trouble talking about it on some level in some way, but it's basically like the extra padding that's filled with fluid, right? And a blister. Thank you. My husband said it's a blister. So with this blister, it also happens to be, I don't want to hold it too close because my camera won't get it, but it also happens to be a little bit more pink than the rest of his skin tone, which means that it's a little bit raw, or it feels a little bit red. Kind of means a heightened sense of passion. Okay, and it is on his left foot. Okay, I know that doesn't make sense to you guys because you're seeing it reversed, but this is the left foot, and it's on that shoulder of responsibility piece. Okay, so as of today, he has a feeling of having a lot of responsibility, and it's bubbling over to where it feels uncomfortable. So just know that pushing him to add more responsibility to his life is not going to go over well. It's going to feel like you're being unreasonable because he already feels overwhelmed in that area. And he's, bubbling up of skin. The blistering of skin has a tendency to mean that he's trying to protect himself. Like there's a protection, like you need to back off kind of thing. Okay. So there's that going on. The third thing that I'll talk about with these feet are that these toes right here, you can see kind of go out and then have a tendency to bend right there, okay? So that's his right foot. No, that's his left foot. Sorry, that's his left foot. So internally, there's a dive toward the earth, which means that there's a gripping. There's a gripping onto that earth. I think of the gripping like holding on for dear life, being uncomfortable, being, you can also call it negative, and it's on the inside. So this is somebody who's going to have a tendency to have some really negative or doubtful self-talk, okay, in the areas of communication, action, relationship especially, okay? So, and there was something that happened in his early childhood that caused him some drama that until he deals with, he's probably not going to come out of that place in his life where he feels the need to cling to the negativity. Just anyway, those are the things that I see in those feet that I was sent. There's so much more, but I won't go on and on and on. So I think, let me just scroll back through here, make sure that I answered everybody's questions. I think so. Everybody that I can see. All right. I think so. Anyway, I guess that pretty much sums it up for ToesDay today. Today is 6/9/2020, and as you may or may not know, I'm doing these ToesDays every single Tuesday. So come on down next Tuesday. You can send me a private message. Thank you for the hearts. And you can send me a private message with any kind of questions or images, and we'll talk about it next time. So for now, have a fabulous ToesDay. Talk to you later. Jamie with Soul Heart Entertainment. I always forget that. Bye.